I finished school in 3.5 years, and but I stayed for the final semester, even though I didn't need it. So I graduated with a bunch of extra credits.
So if any of our listeners are in college right now and are thinking about going during the summer and trying to get through, do not. The job market is horrible. Stay in college as long as possible. Pick up a random degree that's going to take you 7 years to get through. But all right, but so it sounds like your first job actually like really gave you a leg up going into college. All right, so how did you get involved into recruiting?
By mistake, but as you can see, there are a lot of parallels with recruiting
Yes.
and telephone surveys, because sometimes people don't want to hear from me if I'm not calling from the right company, or I'm not calling about the right job, or the salary or compensation expectations didn't match 100%, or they didn't get selected and they're yelling at me because I should have done something about it. So there are some similarities there, but I got to recruiting by mistake in 2000, right before, we thought the world was going to end because it was going to be January 1st, 2000.
Oh yeah, Y2K.
Y2K. And Monster,
heads up, nothing happened.
Nothing at all. And Monster.com was new, so we put our resume on it. Didn't know what I was doing.
No.
I knew what a resume was, obviously, but I grew up in a time where, we were going to job fairs where everybody
you had to show up
was
with
at job
the actual
fairs,
nice
with
paper.
it handed, yes.
Yep.
Talk, get sweaty, move
It
on.
had to be one page, no matter what you did.
No matter what you did. So someone saw my resume on Monster.com, a third-party recruiting agency, and after the interview, it's like, you have the right temperament and attitude for sales, because back then, third-party recruiting was considered a sales job.
Yep.
And that's how I did it. They had clients that were, ISPs. It was a .com boom, so it was a lot of money to be made.
That's awesome.
And it was a lot of stuff to do. So that's how I started recruiting.
And have you been have you moved into like the corporate? Because I know you work for yourself now.
Yes.
So did you go in corporate and then move
Absolutely.
out?
I spent the majority of my career in corporate. About 10 months into my role, some of us were pulled into one of the government contracting companies that we were supporting because they didn't have an in-house recruiting department, and they would love what we did. And this is when TA was just starting to find its own place in the marketplace. So I went in-house and started working at a government contractor, and I stayed in defense and intel until 2017 when I started Trap Recruiter.
Now, when you're working, so if you're working for defense, you get all the clearances and stuff. And so I have a buddy that just retired from the Air Force. He's now in the private sector, but those clearances are worth a fortune.
Absolutely.
And so, like, you stayed. Do you still do a lot of government recruiting? Like, do you have your clearance still?
So I don't have a clearance.
Okay.
We had a situation where there was, if you worked on proposals, it was probably more beneficial for someone on the recruiting team to have the level of clearance required, because they needed to be able to read the proposal and be able to see things. But we had enough people that were already cleared that I didn't have to get my clearance. We started to work on that, but at that time, it started to not be as beneficial. Those things cost a great deal of money, and they take a great deal of time. So no, I still do some projects for government contracting, obviously, if I have the background and they see the companies that I've worked for.